Yeah. Number one, we'll talk about balanced budget multiplier today, and the second thing we'll talk about is called accelerator multiplier interaction. So, what is the balanced budget multiplier? So, balanced budget multiplier basically shows you the effect of how national income when it changes, government spending and taxation. So, for example, let's say I say taxation goes up by 100. Okay, if taxation goes up by 100, and government also makes expenditure to go up by 100. So, in other words, what I'm trying to say is this: if T T goes up by 100 and G also goes up by 100, then T minus G, the balance T minus G will be, change in T minus G will be 0. Isn't that true? So this is what we call the balanced budget happening. You made the T go up by exactly the same amount as G. But what will be the effect on national income is something we want to look at. Because when you increase government expenditure, there will be two things that will happen. If you increase government expenditure, right, then AE will go up by 100, and then if the multiplier, guys, just to be, if the multiplier is 5, then change in Y will be equal to, anyone? Change in Y will be equal to, will be 500, because 100 times 5, 500. Remember, change in Y is equal to change in A times multiplier. Isn't that true? Are we good? Now, but if you increase, so that's one thing. If you increase taxes by, I'm sorry, if you, increase taxes by 100, then what will happen is this, that disposable income will fall by 100. Isn't that true? Which means your income that you're taking back home is going down by 100. Two things will happen. If your MPC is zero point 0.8 and MPS is zero point 0.2, then when your income go down by 100, consumption will fall by, anyone? If income go down by 100, consumption will go down by 100 times 80, 100 times zero point 0.8, which is 80. And saving will also go down by 20, which would mean AE will now fall by 80, or GDP or income GDP will fall by 80 times 5 or 400. Are you all with me? What I'm trying to say here is this: the net effect of this, guys. The net effect will be, so you made taxes go up to pay for government expenditure. Isn't that what we did? So you made taxes go up to pay for government expenditure. So taxes, when when the government expenditure went up, your GDP went up by 500. But when the taxes go up, right, your GDP went down by 400. Net effect will be GDP will be, change in Y will be equal to how much? 500 minus 400 or 100. So what I'm trying to say is that if the government is trying to keep a balanced budget, number one, then the then taxes and government expenditure will increase by the same amount. But between G and T, you can see G is more powerful, because whenever government expenditure change, it will have a full effect on multiplier, full multiplier effect. But when you change taxes, because taxes make the income go down, consumption and saving both will change. So if I ask you guys, you have two policy tools: change taxes or change government expenditure. Which one will have a larger effect on GDP? Government expenditure, because taxes, because they change income, they can change consumption and saving both at the same time. And only consumption is C is equal to A is equal to C plus I plus G. So C is part of consumption. So therefore, between government expenditure and taxes, Number one, we need to understand this, that government expenditure is more powerful. But secondly, we need to understand this, that if the government tries to keep a balanced budget, right, then if the government tries to keep a balanced budget, then what will be the effect of change in AE on change in Y? And we saw this, change in AE was 100 and change in Y was also 100. Isn't that true? Why? Because if you keep a balanced budget, when you make the AE go up by 100 because of government expenditure, you're also trying to keep a balanced budget, which means taxes go up by 100 as well, which means GDP will fall by 400. Net effect would be, if I ask you what's the multiplier here, 100 leading to 100 means multiplier will be equal to, change in A is 100, change in Y is also 100. So multiplier will be equal to 1. So the balance budget multiplier, in short, we say the balance budget multiplier is equal to 1. If you want to keep a balanced budget, then your GDP will rise exactly equal to the rise in aggregate expenditure, which is the government spending that you're doing. Why? Because when you increase government expenditure, you also increase taxes. Government expenditure will make the AE go up, but taxes will make the AE go down. Not the same extent, but depends on your MPC, and therefore the multiplier will be equal to 1. And there's another story that I tell you here, that government expenditure is a much more powerful tool. Let's say if I give you two options, do we understand the balance budget multiplier? Because then I will talk about one more thing. Let's say if I say, just to a side note, if I say government expenditure goes up by 100, or I reduce taxes by 100. Okay, the government has two options: increase government expenditure by 100 or reduce taxes by 100. Okay, given that MPC is 0.8 and MPS is 0.2. If MPC is 0.8 and let's say multiplier as a result is 5. If G goes up by 100, AE go up by 100, and therefore GDP will go up by 500. But if taxes go down by 100, disposable income will go up by 100, which means C will go up by 80 and saving will go up by 20, which means this may have a 500 effect, but this may have a 80 times 5 or 400 effect. So between government expenditure and taxes, which one is more powerful as a tool? Because they both are what we call fiscal policy tool. Government has two options: either government expenditure goes up or taxes go down. G is more powerful than T. Okay, G is always more powerful than T. Sorry, somebody's asking a question. I didn't see. Yeah, so government expenditure is more powerful than taxes because of this very reason. But do we get that? Are we good? No, this is the same chapter. This is just wrapping up the last chapter. So I want to go back to the note. No, I'm saying if you have two options, G or T. Yeah. Udhar tha, in the first case, we're saying T was funding G. If T was funding G, GDP will be rising equal to the amount of how much G is increasing. So this is what we're saying. This that. So, for example, if taxation increases by 100 and government injects 100 million as government expenditure, the net effect of this equal increase in taxation and government spending will not be zero, but in fact will be equal to the amount of government injection. How much is the government injection? 100. So whatever the amount of injection should be doing that. So one of the things people will say, oh, if you increase government expenditure by 100 and taxation by 100, the net effect should be zero on income. And the answer is no. Government expenditure has a more powerful effect. Ultimately, there will be larger impact on income equal to the amount of government expenditure. And I wrote this here that when an autonomous taxes increase by 100, the AE will decline by less than full 100 because the MPC is less than 1. Okay, so the idea is that the combination of increasing the level of G and T by the same amount will actually lead to a net increase in desired spending of 20, and therefore GDP is going up by 100. Okay, which means the balance budget multiplier is equal to 1. Okay, and the math is important to understand because tomorrow when we do fiscal policy, monetary policy, will be like, okay, fiscal policy may between T and G, taxes and government expenditure is very powerful. There's also another reason why government expenditure is more powerful than taxes. Because if you give government expenditure, you normally give it to the poor. But if you reduce taxes, you're normally going to the people who are already working. So government expenditure is always seen as more powerful tool than taxes if you ever want to make aggregate expenditure go up. Let's say if you're running a recession, okay, you have two options: taxes reduce kar do, reduce the taxes, right? But then who will benefit? Those who are on the job, right? But if you increase government expenditure rather than decrease taxes, let's say you give a stimulus package, then this will have a more powerful effect. Why? Because that is targeted toward poor who have a high MPC to begin with. And secondly, G itself is more powerful because it has a full multiplier effect. T, because it affects C and S at the same time, doesn't have a full powerful effect. Make sense, guys? So the theory says this, that if you're increasing government expenditure and taxes at the same time, the ultimate effect will not be zero, will in fact be equal to the amount of G. So if G goes up by 100, your ultimate income will also go up by 100. Make sense? Making the balance budget multiplier to be equal to 1. Okay. Any questions, guys? So the math of it is not really tested much, but we'll see sometimes an MCQ may come about balance budget multiplier. Just remember that the balance budget multiplier is equal to 1. Make sense? Are we good to move on? Yep. Another concept that I want to do is accelerator multiplier interaction. This is an easy concept given that we've done both multiplier. Just to recap, remember what is a multiplier? Your multiplier was used to say this, that whenever there is a change in I, it will lead to change in Y through multiplier. But whenever there's a change in Y, that will lead to change in I through your accelerator. What if they're working together? What if both multiplier effect and accelerator effect happens at the same time? Right? So let's see this happening. So if Y goes up, if I goes up, there will be a change in Y. Right? So let's write this effect. If I rises, if there's a rise in I, that will lead to a rise in Y. Yeah, through multiplier. And if Y rises at an increasing rate, remember we said this in an accelerator theory, that Y should rise at an increasing rate. Then what will happen, guys, if Y rises at an increasing rate? If Y is increasing at an increasing rate, what does accelerator theory says this? You need more machineries and you need more investment to happen. Investment will go up. Make sense? So multiplier theory said this, whenever investment go up, there will be a rise in GDP. Right? And accelerator says this, that if GDP is increasing at an increasing rate, then even investment will go up. And if investment goes up, again, GDP should go up through the multiplier, which means again there's a possibility that I will go up through accelerator. You guys get that? So it's kind of like a spiral kind of a thing which is happening. I went up causing Y to go up, Y went up, again I went up, I went up, again Y went up. Will this process ever stop? Your GDP is continuously growing. Will this process ever stop? Can there be any possibility that can stop this process? Can we grow infinitely? Why? What stops us to grow infinitely? Scarcity. Good job. Your limited resources. In other words, until economy reaches full employment. Isn't that true? So we say this, that theoretically you can't go on and on, because there could be a possibility you can reach full employment. So when I goes up, Y go up, and when Y go up, this can make I go up, but you can't continuously grow because there could be a possibility that you may stop growing at one point in time, right? Because you may reach full employment. So there was a question that we did the other day where it said that if there was an increase in investment, it will cause a rise in output. And then second sentence said this, that if there was a rise in output, it will cause an increase in investment. Explain. So we talk about how when increase in investment will cause a rise in GDP through multiplier, and then how a rise in GDP cause a rise in investment through accelerator. I should have written here accelerator, right? And basically then you, in the conclusion, you talk about how accelerator multiplier theory can work together, which can result in both to work together, which is called accelerator multiplier interaction. Okay, so this is our accelerator multiplier interaction. Okay, does that make sense, guys? Do we have any questions about this? Do we get the idea? Yeah. I want to show you the notes in 1 minute. If you copy this, are we able to move on? So basically, so if there's an initial change in injections or withdrawal, then theoretically this will set off a chain reaction between multiplier and accelerator. For example, if there's a rise in, I said, what if government spending goes up? I didn't make the investment go up. What if government spending goes up? This will lead to a multiplied increase in national income through the multiplier. But this rise in national income will set off the accelerator, because whenever GDP goes up, firms will respond to the rise in income and the resulting rise in consumer demand by investing more. But this rise in investment will constitute a further rise in injection, and therefore will lead to a second multiplier increase. So G went up, Y went up, Y went up, accelerator ke through I went up, again Y went up, and this increase in national income will be larger than the first one. But this process will continue indefinitely. But will it lead to an exploding rise in national income? And the answer is no, because in real terms, the national income cannot go on rising faster than the growth in your potential output. Your potential output is your YF. You can't go beyond YF. It will bump against the ceiling of full employment, whether of labor or of other resources. There will come a point you will not go beyond YF. So your AE keeps on growing, but you can't go beyond YF. Theoretically, we say this, that there comes your what we call potential output or full employment level of output. Make sense? So that's what it is. Now, guys, what are we going to do is ADAS next time, which is an easy discussion because we've done this in the past, but now we go more theoretical in terms of talking about Keynesians and monetarists and why do they have disagreement about wages and so on. So that's the discussion. We've done the first 4 chapters. Things will happen quickly now. Then we have a monetary sector and fiscal, monetary and fiscal policy. We'll discuss those. Okay. Then we move on to talk about. Sorry. Then we move on to talk about supply side policies and unemployment. So next few sort of months, things will happen a lot more quicker because we're done with this framework. Got it? So in terms of like our syllabus, we are in a good shape in A2, but I want to save few weeks for going back to micro and discuss some government policies for micro also. So that's why uh, in another month's time, like March 15th, today is Feb 15th, March 15th, we should be done with our macro and we should be doing 2 more weeks of micro before we sit for our mocks in first week of April. That's the plan. Okay, guys, are we good? Any questions, people at home? Today I've largely ignored you. Okay, thank you. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.